Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to the Commitment of Traders report. It's Saturday, just after 12 o'clock, and we'll start as ever with the Australian dollar. So every week on a Friday, we get the positions taken by the large speculators, such as the banks, and the commercials, which are hedge funds. Now, we plot. These are plotted on a graph. This is by COT base. And when we find that the commercials and the non-commercials, the large speculators, are oppositely opposed to each other, we normally expect to see a big change in direction. So here we have the Australian dollar, and it's what we call overbought. We're expecting a sell-off, and as it sells off, so you see the position of the commercials declines. We've actually got now where we've had quite a big downturn, and I am sort of expecting a bit of a pullback on this now. I've taken profit on quite a few of my Australian dollar trades, the crosses, and I might expect a pullback to about the 77 mark. So we'll just have a look at the chart. This is AUD USD, and so we've come down. We're on the bottom Bollinger Band at the moment. There might just be a little bit more downside. Excuse me. But I think we might have a little bit of a pullback up to the recent highs up here before we continue on down. So we'll see how that goes. But there you have it. British pound. The commercials have been bullish of the pound for about the last 9 months. They've actually come down to take a bearish position, and as you see, the pound has actually fallen down. We've had a little bit of a rally back up the last couple of weeks, but I am expecting a little bit more weakness in the pound against the dollar, but I'm bearish of the pound against the commodity currencies like the Canadian dollar, the Australian dollar. So you know, it's double-edged sword with the pound at the moment. So here we've got the pound US dollar. We've had a little bit of an upturn the last couple of weeks, but I am expecting this to fade and come down, and this is my target about 129. And we've got a commercials ratio short of 1.09, and we've also got a speculators ratio short. So both the speculators and the commercials are both short this week of the British pound against the US dollar. So I wonder which way it'll go. Canadian dollar. This has had an absolutely massive bearish stance by the commercials. We've actually fallen off the highs, and we've come back down at a little bit of a bounce, and now I think we're headed even lower. We've got the same thing with the oil price, and the Canadian dollar is an oil currency, so the oil is a little bit overpriced at the moment. I'm expecting that to sell off, and obviously the Canadian dollar to come down. So we'll see what happens with that next week. Let's just have a look at quick look at the chart. So we've had this. This is a strength on the US dollar because it's US dollar CAD. So as we get weakness on the Canadian dollar, so the US dollar goes up, and I'm expecting this to go up to recent highs, 136, 138. Over the next month or so. So we'll see where that goes. Euro. We've seen a little bit of strength over the last couple of weeks for the euro, and the commercials have actually increased their short position. The speculators haven't quite reciprocated, and were a little bit flat last week. So we are expecting a break lower on this. If you look at a 5-year chart, here we go. This is the most bearish the commercials have been for 5 years. So they had this long period where they were long the euro, and they've come right the other way, and now they're short. So I am expecting this to break lower. We'll have a quick look at the charts. As you can see, a little bit of weakness there the end of last week. Tuesday night was the top of this long candle here, nearly up to 118. But I am expecting this to break lower. So we'll see where that goes to. Japanese yen. If you look at this again on a 5-year chart, this is as bearish as they have been for, well, a couple of years more or less. So, sorry, as bullish as they have been for a couple of years. If you go back here, you can see at this position here, we had this very nice move up on the Japanese yen, and not so much there. We did have a move up, but it wasn't as good. So here we go, and we're at a very bullish stance on the Japanese yen. So we'll see what happens, but it looks to me like the yen's going up against the dollar, especially on safe haven flows and stuff like that. So we got a commercial ratio of 4.58 to 1 long. Long for the Japanese yen, short for this pair. Okay, Swiss franc. Now this is a 1-year chart. I'm just going to change it to a 5-year chart, and you can see the effect that it has on the price when the commercials get this. This is more or less as bullish as they have ever been for over 5 years for the Swiss franc. And whenever we get these highs, we usually get a pretty good move to the upside. So whenever we see this high here, we had this move up here. This high here, this I believe was the black swan, and we had this massive move which was about 20% of the currency, just over. And again, this move here, from here all the way up to highs. So I am expecting a big move on the Swiss franc. Let's have a look at the chart. This is the US dollar Swiss franc. I'm expecting a big move. I'm expecting this to short down here. We have a commercial long ratio 7.75 to 1. That's the commercials longs to shorts, a ratio of 7.75 to 1. That's the largest we've seen for a while, and I'm expecting this to sell through. As it does sell through, I'm going to be putting extra trades on it. So that's where we are with that one. Mexican peso. Well, we've seen quite a fall in the price of the peso, and over the last few weeks it's actually just gone into sideways motion. At the end on Friday it did actually weaken quite a bit. Now I can imagine when the commercials saw that it weakened, they will have increased their short position on this pair. So Mexican peso to come down and the dollar going up. I don't have a chart for that. New Zealand dollar. Well, I'm expecting, or I was expecting, a little bit of a bounce on this, but it surprised me on Friday, and it actually went below resistance. So I did put a trade in with a stop on it, and I thought it might just follow through. It didn't. It knocked me out, and I'm in a bit of a quandary with this. I am expecting a little bit of a pullback, but it might just surprise me and continue on down, because I'm expecting strength in the pound and weakness in commodity currencies. So, you know, I think I'm basically out of that at the moment. We can look at the chart. Yeah, go on. Here we go. New Zealand dollar, US dollar. It broke down on Friday. I did put a trade in, thought it would follow through. It came back up and it knocked me out. But yeah, this shows quite a bit of strength to the downside, to be quite honest. But there is very good resistance below it. Sorry, support below it. Yeah. Okay. Let's just have a little look at some more. Yeah. Right. Energies. Now this is very interesting, and this is oil, crude oil, and you can see the commercials are heavily bearish. They're more bearish than they have been for a long while. In fact, a 5-year chart, and this is basically the most bearish they have been for oil for 5 years. So that is a pretty good signal that we're going to see a downside on oil. If I could actually take out a trade oil Swiss franc, I think I would do it. You know, let's just we've got oil on here somewhere. Let me just have a look right at the end, or nearly. I got spot Western Texas Industries or whatever. Anyway, I have got 3 trades in. I've got knocked out of a couple, but I am expecting this to turn to the downside. So we'll see what happens with that. But the commercials generally get it about right. You might have to wait a while. Grains, lifestyle, metals, but it normally always comes right. Silver, right, and the commercials are bearish. They've really basically about the same as last week, maybe come off the boil a little bit. But if you go put this onto a 5-year chart again, the commercials are basically pretty bearish of silver. We have seen a couple of nice moves down over the last 9 months or so, and I'm expecting from where we are at the moment a move down. Any move up in the any move up in the price of the dollar will actually bring the price of silver down. Okay, well, thank you all for watching, and hopefully see you again next week, and happy trading. Okay, cheers, bye now.